I'm Grandmaster Sports Handicapper Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com. We are going to take a look at Super Bowl 46 from the standpoint of a sports bettor, the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Green Bay is currently a 2 to a 2.5 point favorite. The total is 44 to 44.5. And again, we will take a look at the key numbers that the sports bettor looks at, and we will actually compare it to some of the numbers that are a little bit overanalyzed, that are accurate, but not quite as accurate as the key numbers that we use. Now, Pittsburgh is 14-4 straight up, 12-6 to the number, and their games have gone over and under evenly, 9 each. Green Bay, meanwhile, 13-6 straight up, 12-7 to the number, and their games have actually gone under at a 12-7 rate. Now, when we take a look at rushing yards, Pittsburgh gets 4 yards per carry, 4.0 yards per carry compared to 3.8 for Green Bay. So obviously the Steelers with an advantage of 0.2. Now, in passing yards on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, that's one of the reasons why we use what we prefer to say is ratings rather than rankings. On the surface, Green Bay may appear to have a much better passing attack. They are ranked 5th in the league at 257 yards per game compared to 15th for Pittsburgh at 220. But conversely, passing yards per catch, Pittsburgh has proven to be much more the big play team by 0.4 passing yards per catch. Now, the yards per point, pretty much dead even on offense. The Steelers with a negligible advantage of 0.1. Again, yards per point, take the total number of yards divided by points. Lower number, better on offense. It means you're more efficient. The higher number is better on defense. It means you're forcing teams to use more yards. Now let's look at the defensive side of the ball. Steelers, possibly the best run defense in years. They allow 1.5 fewer yards per rush than Green Bay does. Same thing, even the rankings pretty much say it's a huge advantage. Pittsburgh is first in the NFL. Green Bay pretty solid, but still a distant 11th. Now, defensive passing yards. Green Bay would seem to be the slightly better team. Number 4 in the league compared to number 8 in the league. For Pittsburgh, 197 yards compared to 208 yards. But passing yards for catch, Pittsburgh much better at stopping it. They actually hold teams to 1.1 fewer passing yards per catch than the Green Bay Packers do. Yards per point give Green Bay the advantage on the defensive side of the ball, forcing 2.2 more yards per point. Both teams are very good in the turnover department, but Green Bay is actually, I should say, Pittsburgh's a slightly better team. They have a plus 16 turnover ratio compared to just plus 13 for Green Bay. Now, again, before the Super Bowl is here, we're probably going to make a video on the Super Bowl propositions. If you visit our website at offshoreinsiders.com, we've already got a podcast about the early proposition plays. Plus, we may even analyze the game using a slightly different database. As you know, at God's Tips, which I am the lead handicapper, God's Tips is the anchor of offshoreinsiders.com. We actually use several different databases. Now, in many cases, they do have the same statistics, but we just like how each one has slightly different statistics and the way they actually compare them. It's a little bit more efficient for us. Compare, contrast, and synthesize, even though in theory, all the great databases out there, they have all the information we need, but we might compare and contrast from a slightly different standpoint using another one of our databases and using the model that they do. But again, all the best picks, not just for the Super Bowl, and there will be proposition plays for sure. I know the Canadian crew is going to have quite a few proposition plays for the Super Bowl, but for basketball through March Madness, baseball season, all year round, the best place for sports picks is www.offshoreinsiders.com.